Sierra Halseth, 16, and Aaron Guerrero, 18, shocked everyone with their reactions after being sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Sierra's father, Daniel Halseth.
Day 3 after murdering somebody.
Wow! Don't put that on camera.
The body of Daniel was found in the garage of his Las Vegas home 4 days after the murder on April 14th. The teenagers were apprehended in Salt Lake City and have been sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Their outrageous behavior during sentencing, captured on camera, highlights the need for greater understanding of the root causes of violent crimes committed by young people.
You have 555 days credit for time served. That is a total aggregate sentence of life in the Nevada Department of Corrections with the possibility of parole up to 22 years of good service.
Sierra Halseth and Aaron Guerrero, 2 teenage convicts, were given the maximum sentence of life in prison with the possibility of parole after 22 years by District Judge Kiara Jones. Their reactions to this news were nothing short of crazy.
On count 1, you're going to be sentenced to 48 to 120 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. On count 2, you're going to be sentenced to life in the Nevada Department of Corrections with the possibility of parole after 20 years has been served, plus the consecutive 24 to 60 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections for the deadly weapon enhancement.
Aaron Guerrero and Sarah Halseth, 2 teenage convicts, have pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including murder with a deadly weapon, arson, robbery with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to conduct robbery, and fraudulent use of credit or debit cards. As they face a life sentence with the possibility of parole, their reactions in court are nothing short of crazy. While Aaron appears to be breaking down, Sierra seems bored and tired, raising questions about whether there is more to her than meets the eye. Philip Chisholm, a 9th grade student at the time, received a life sentence in prison after committing an unimaginable act on October 22, 2013. Now, his reaction to the sentence is nothing short of crazy.
The killer knew exactly what he was doing and has never shown remorse. I hate Colleen's killer and will never forgive him.
A 9th grader named Philip Chisholm carried out a horrific deed on that memorable day in 2013. He was requested to remain after school to help by the compassionate and well-liked teacher Colleen Ritzer. She had no idea that her life would soon be violently ripped from her. Chisholm pursued her into the bathroom where he brutally killed, robbed, assaulted, and tormented her. Afterwards, he dragged her dead body behind the school and dumped it in a trash can. The following morning, with the victim's blood still on his hands, Chisholm was apprehended by the police after callously using Richard's credit card to purchase a movie ticket in the area. All his efforts to hide the crime, including donning a mask and stowing the trash, failed.
Put this animal behind bars for the maximum possible sentence. Do not give this coward the opportunity to shatter another family's lives.
Philip Chisholm was charged with several offenses, including leading the murder of Colleen Ritzer, aggravated rape and armed robbery as per the indictment. Despite being a teenager when he committed the crime, he was tried as an adult, and in February 2016, he received a minimum of 40 years in prison. Chisholm's first chance for parole will be when he turns 54, which is the highest level of parole available. In a heartfelt tribute to Ritzer, Chisholm was handcuffed and brought out in her favorite color, pink, in front of her family. However, the teenage convict appeared to show little remorse for his terrible crime. Chisholm's response to his life sentence was simply insane and only added to the tragic events surrounding this case. Wisconsin teenagers Antonio Barbeau and Nathan Pape were found guilty of committing a brutal crime against Barbeau's great-grandmother. The case documents indicate that the two plotted to rob the elderly woman to use the stolen money for buying marijuana and pizza. The events that followed were terrifying, with the woman being beaten repeatedly and attacked with a hatchet. Barbeau changed his plea from not guilty of mental sickness or defect to no contest after reaching an agreement with the prosecution. The teenage convicts reacted in a shocking manner to their life sentences, given the extreme violence of their actions, serving as a grim reminder of the hazards of delinquent behavior.
I know I don't show my emotions much, and I myself am not sure why, but that doesn't mean I don't.
But it didn't go to plan as the court gave him the worst possible penalty.
10-year-old, can you imagine? Our statutes the way they're standing right now, 10-year-old facing life in prison, I don't understand that. They aren't adults, they're children.
Barbeau and Nathan Pape, 2 teenage convicts found guilty of a heinous crime against an elderly woman, were given the harshest punishment for their actions. Barbeau was sentenced to life imprisonment, while Pape received life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Their reactions to the life sentences were nothing short of crazy, despite the severity of their sentences. This tragic incident serves as a reminder of the dangerous consequences of poor decision-making by young people.
I just want to say that I'm truly sorry for everything that happened. I truly regret every single thing that happened that day.
What's your take on the dramatic reactions of the teenage convicts to their life sentences? While their horrific crimes against an innocent elderly woman may have merited such harsh punishment, some might argue that rehabilitation could have been a more appropriate penalty. Do you agree with the judge's decision to impose a life sentence, or do you think there could have been a different approach to addressing their behavior? Conrad Schaefer, who was just 15 years old when he went on a shooting spree resulting in multiple deaths in Osceola County, received consecutive life terms in prison after nearly 3 years. Schaefer expressed his condolences to the families of the victims. The teenage convict's reaction to his life sentence was nothing short of crazy, serving as a grim reminder of the devastating consequences of senseless violence.
I would just like to apologize to the families that I've hurt. I know that y'all never forgive me, and I don't expect you to. I know if I was in your position, I'd feel the same way.
The teenage convict, Conrad Schaefer, was just 15 years old when he and his friends went on a shooting spree that resulted in the deaths of Tunis and several bystanders in Osceola County. Before the shootings, Schaefer convinced his father to purchase a .45 caliber high-point carbine and 100 rounds of ammunition. He then allegedly waited until his father went back to bed, snuck the gun out of the house, and began a neighborhood horror story. Schaefer pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder inside the courtroom, in connection with the outbreak of violence that kept neighbors on edge for over 2 weeks as gunfire penetrated their homes and vehicles over 22 times. The teenage convict's reaction to his life sentence, expressing condolences to the family of the victims, was unexpected and may be considered crazy by some. Nonetheless, it served as a grim reminder of the tragic consequences of senseless violence, and it left many wondering what could have been done to prevent such a tragedy.
Now, 15 years old. I mean, that's the thing that's hard to wrap your head around. Is this was a 15-year-old who was out, with a semi-automatic rifle shooting up Osceola County.
After the hearing, the judge revealed that if Schaefer had been 3 years older at the time of the crime, he would have been eligible for the death penalty. This revelation only added to the teenage convict's already crazy reactions to his life sentence, emphasizing the need for preventative measures to discourage youth from participating in violent acts.
I was 15 at the time. I'm really sorry for the things I've done. And I know I did wrong, and I know my apologies don't mean nothing to you. And I know it ain't gonna change how you feel about me.
Matthew Borges.
Matthew Borges, on indictment number 2017-115. The jury, having returned a verdict of guilty on the charge of murder in the first degree,
who was only 18 years old, was accused of beheading his fellow student Lee Valoria Paulino at Lawrence High School in December 2016. Borges killed Paulino while they were both studying at the school. Borges told the police that they had smoked marijuana together in November 2016, which was the last time anyone saw Paulino alive. 2 weeks later, Paulino's body was found on the banks of the Merrimack River with some of his limbs missing. Borges was not initially considered a suspect, but eventually the evidence against him piled up. In the closing arguments, prosecutor Jay Gabito claimed that there was a mountain of evidence pointing to Borges' guilt. The teen convict's crazy reaction to his life sentence left many wondering what could have driven someone so young to commit such a heinous act, and serve as a stark reminder of the dangers of youth gone astray.
Is the defendant guilty or not guilty? And if guilty, guilty of what and on what theory?
The investigators disclosed that Burgess allegedly stabbed the 16-year-old victim multiple times before beheading him to conceal the identity of the body. The teenage convict's wild response to his life sentence is a haunting reminder of the extreme and difficult nature of the crime he committed, prompting questions about the underlying factors that led to such a violent act.
That the defendant, Matthew Borges, is guilty on the charge of first-degree murder on the theories of deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty.
As the text above only provides a brief mention of Brandon Spencer's story without details of his reaction to his life sentence, it leaves much to the imagination. However, his case highlights the significant impact that crimes committed by young people can have, and the importance of addressing the root causes to prevent such behavior from occurring.
I'm sorry for what happened to your uncle, but Life in prison.
Brandon Spencer, a 19-year-old man, attended a crowded party on the USC campus in Los Angeles on Halloween night. Shots were fired, and he was later picked up by the LAPD for questioning after attempting to flee. Spencer was charged with 4 counts of attempted murder a few days later, and thankfully no one lost their life. 4 people were injured. The teenage convict's crazy reaction to his life sentence remains unknown, but the incident serves as a reminder of the devastating impact on gun violence and the importance of holding those responsible accountable.
That if you are so intent on killing someone that you're willing to shoot them and at the same time open fire into a crowd.
The shooting was a result of a feud between Spencer and a rival gang member, and that he was a documented, well-known gang member himself. Brandon Spencer's dramatic reaction to his life sentences serves as a reminder of the impact of incarceration on young individuals. Despite insisting on his innocence throughout his trial, Spencer was found guilty and visibly distressed during his sentencing. The courtroom was filled with his family and friends as he repeatedly banged his head on the defense table, forcing sheriff deputies to physically restrain him. This shocking behavior of the teenage convict highlights the need for effective rehabilitation programs for youth offenders to help them rebuild their lives and prevent such tragic incidents from happening in the future. Reportedly, Brandon was sentenced to 40 years to life for 4 counts of attempted murder.